Hey everybody, Dan Trudeau here. It's been a while. For those of you returning to my channel, Milton will be back soon, but today I'm going to be speaking with you instead of my cousin Milton. I wanted to tackle something today that, let's just say, has a lot to do with why you haven't seen me much in the past year. There's a lot of talk, all through society about mental illness, its effects on people, but it's something that you kind of have to experience to really understand fully. That said, it's become important to me to have more people understand not just what it's like for the person living with mental illness, but for the people in their lives that care for them, that are trying to help them through. Now, I could list a whole lot of movies that have a portrayal of mental illness that is not accurate. Today, I'm here to talk about the movie Silver Lining Playbook. And I'm not here to talk about Silver Linings Playbook because it's a terrible portrayal. In fact, I would argue it's one of the better portrayals in just about any movie or TV show I've ever seen. Now, the perspective I'm presenting today is not of someone personally dealing with a severe mental illness or a medical professional, in that field. The perspective I'm coming from is of someone who has had someone counting on them, who, you were sort of like their anchor. I was the one working with them through the system, through trying to move forward and get better, and it's an ongoing struggle. That's why I think movies like Silver Linings Playbook can be so useful in opening up people's understanding of the issue. Though, again, just like any movie, they sometimes change things for storytelling purposes and stuff like that, so there's nothing out there that's 100% accurate. And not only that, my perspective is one of, thousands, millions, because we're all wired a little different. People's circumstances are different. The resources people have access to are different. So my perspective is just one of many perspectives, which is why I welcome people saying, I disagree with you, or that's not the way I, went through it, or what you're saying there runs contrary to my experiences. I'm 100% cool with that, because I think this isn't like me presenting like, here it is, here's the total answer. It's one perspective that should be starting a conversation. So without further ado, let's get into Silver Linings Playbook. Editing Dan here. I originally intended this to be a much more comprehensive overview of the whole movie, but really there's so much going on in this film. The first 30 minutes alone, there's so much to talk about that we're mostly going to be focusing on the Bradley Cooper character's mental illness, how that shows in the movie as opposed to the overall plot, etc. It was too much and kind of took us off task. And not only that, it gets into some areas like Tiffany's character's trauma and stuff like that. So that I'm not the expert. I'm not a relationship person either. I just want to talk about the stuff I have personal experience with. So we're going to be mostly focusing on that as opposed to the movie as a whole. Okay, this is the first thing I want to talk about here. Yeah, okay. That practice, the patient pretending to swallow the medication when they don't. Places I've been, it's called cheeking. The hospitals I have experience with, and again, there's a range of experiences with hospitals. Some are great, some are awful. Cheeking is something they look for automatically. And if you're cheeking your medication, if you are at that hospital under court order or anything like that, they're not going to let you out. In fact, your stay is going to be extended because you're fighting the treatment. Something like that would never fly. They catch people when they're cheeking all the time.
Technically, you can take him out against our recommendation, but you assume a lot of liability in the eyes of the court, and he's just getting used to the routine here.
I don't want him to get used to the routine here. 8 months is already long enough.
There's a big thing brewing here. Man, taking someone out of a facility like this, he hasn't been taking his medication. It's against the recommendation of the doctors. You're really setting up a really bad situation. And again, I've had both good and terrible experiences with hospitals. Taking someone out of the hospital when they're still in a bad state of mind. For instance, Bradley Cooper's character here, the way he's still talking, he hasn't been taking his medication. When he's talking, he still seems to be manic. If people are in mania, they don't get better at home. You need a good treatment regimen. Taking him home would just be an invitation for disaster.
You lied to me, Pat. Danny's not allowed to leave.
Okay, Mom, just hold on a second. Let's just talk about this. Mom, just listen.
Don't touch the steering wheel! Pat, this whole thing was a mistake.
I'm sorry, Mom.
You may have seen me wince a bit by that part. I've had a similar experience to what just happened there. He just grabbed the steering wheel of a moving car, almost got them in an accident. I don't think they're 10 minutes out of the hospital. This is not someone who should be going home.
Everything good? Mm-hmm. So you don't talk to me? You didn't tell me you took him out?
Oh, he's ready. Look at him.
You didn't tell Dad you were picking me up?
Don't worry about that.
I want to make sure when you come out that you're okay. And she didn't say anything. You didn't tell me why
The
he was
court
out
said
now.
yes. Don't worry.
Yeah, but what did the doctor say?
Having a mentally ill person under your roof has a serious effect on the lives of everybody under the roof, even the neighbors sometimes. And you don't bring your son home without telling your spouse what's going on. Well, not only that, they're lying to him. They're telling him that everyone says everything's okay, and everyone has not said everything is okay.
But don't worry about
From your
it.
bookmaking?
Who told you that?
Mom told me.
I
Outside.
did not know I didn't.
You just told me outside, Mom. What are you talking about? 5 minutes ago, we were walking up the stairs. She said, don't say anything. But Dad lost his job and he's bookmaking.
Why? Why, Dolores? Why did you say that to him?
Don't tell someone manic or who's in mania something in confidence. They have no filter. It'll come right out.
I'm getting trim, getting really fit for Nikki. I'm gonna read Nikki's teaching syllabus and get my old job back.
Nikki sold the house. She left. Didn't your mother tell you?
Let me tell you something. You don't know anything about my marriage, okay, Dad? All right? Our marriage, we're very, very much in love, okay? Just like you two.
Listen, Patrick, she's gone. She's not around anymore. Nikki left.
What are you doing, Dad? Excelsior. Excelsior.
Trying to get someone in that state of mind to deal with things as they really are is an impossible task. He is still very much hung up on the idea of, he's not just hung up, he's obsessed. He's focusing on life's going to be better and I'm going to get everything back that I used to have. You can't move forward like that. Let me just explain how it usually is in the hospital. He was supposedly in that place 8 months. That's pretty rare, even under court order. It depends, different places, different rules, different judges, different ideas. But for most people, you aren't there for more than a few weeks, a month. The second they think that you're no longer manic, that they have like sort of like a at least in the ballpark of a medication solution, you're sent out. I've had the experience of someone coming home when they shouldn't come home. They're going to end up in the hospital again or worse. It's the dilemma a lot of people find themselves in with a loved one. They come home, they're not in good shape, they're not all the way there, and somehow you have to continue on with your life while also living with somebody who is still suffering from these problems and everything. It's more than a lot of people can handle, and it's a hard thing to describe, dealing with someone like that under your roof.
What the fuck? I just can't believe Nikki's teaching that book to the kids. I mean, it's the whole time. Let me just break it down for you. Barkley.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
She dies, Dad. I mean, the world's hard enough as it is, guys. It's fucking hard enough as it is. Can't somebody say, hey, let's be positive? Let's have a good ending to the story?
Pat, you owe us an apology.
Mom, I can't apologize. I'm not going to apologize for this. You know what I will do? I will apologize on behalf of Ernest Hemingway, because that's who's to blame here.
Okay, again, we're dealing with someone who's manic, right? Someone who is swinging between what you might call positive and negative, euphoria, anger. You know, you've heard the adage, what goes up must come down. Well, okay, he's all full of energy. I need to make everything good. I'm going to make everything better. This is good. I'm positive. Don't bring me down. And then next thing you know, something triggers it, and he's breaking out a window at 4 o'clock in the morning, ranting and raving to his parents. When they point out it's 4 o'clock in the morning, it just doesn't even register with him. They ask for an apology. He's like, what to apologize for what? Because from his perspective, this thing that he's feeling right now, that he's obsessing on, like, there's nothing outside of that. So if he's upset, he's right to be upset. The things that he's doing right now are completely logical and justifiable. And, you know, if you tell him you need to apologize for it, doesn't even Register, because apologize for what? I am right to be upset by this. Boy, that's a hard thing to live with. You're sitting here saying what you're doing isn't logical. What you're doing is you're hurting us. It doesn't make sense. And they are completely and absolutely incapable in that moment of understanding it.
Is that song really playing? That song is killing me. Could you please turn it off? Is it speaker here?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry.
Well, maybe someone here has a different perspective on this, but I have a hard time believing any reasonable, well-meaning therapist would play music in their lobby with other people around that might make a person unstable. That seems a really irresponsible thing to do.
That was a messed up thing you did, Dr. Patel, all right? That's a messed
Agreed.
up thing. I'm sorry, but that's...
You can call me Cliff, please.
Yeah, well, Cliff, that's not the way you're supposed to meet people, okay? I'm not going to take any meds. I should just tell you that right now.
No, you have to take medicine.
I'm not going to take any meds. No, look, it makes me foggy.
No, you will have to take medication.
I don't want to need meds, doctor. I'm sorry. Look, I am not the explosion guy, okay?
You just exploded. You
My
exploded your
father
parents.
is the explosion guy. I'm not that guy.
See, again, he's telling this thing, I'm not the explosion guy. He just smashed that magazine rack. He's already thrown something through a window in his house. But he's saying, I'm not the explosion guy. And here's the thing is, he's not lying. He literally believes that as he's saying it, because in his perception, those things were all logical things. The other thing we hit on here is the whole taking medication part and the resistance to taking medication. And this is a huge issue. There is a strong resistance that we have baked into us somehow to take medication like this. And there's a lot of different factors for it, and other people could probably speak to all the factors. I can speak to a couple that I've seen. One of them is the social idea that we have that these medications are bad, that they screw you up, that they make you someone who you're not, that, you know, it's part of big pharma just trying to dope us all up and slow us down. I'm not here to tell you that pharmaceutical corporations are completely ethical places, and there aren't issues there, because there are. However, telling people they don't need medication or they shouldn't take their medication or anything like that when they have a serious mental illness is, well, it's not good. It's not going to lead to good things. There's a reason they take them. And I also get, you know, not feeling great about them because, to be blunt, we don't know how they work. And the reason why is because we don't really understand everything about what mental illness is inside your brain and why these certain chemicals have this effect on you. We don't know. So that is a scary element. I completely understand that. I'll tell you right now, I've gone through multiple psychiatrists who I would literally call quacks. But you have to take the effort to find someone who can prescribe that you trust and that you can work with. The other thing that comes up when he's talking about being foggy and stuff, that can sometimes mean two things. One of them is that they really are making you feel foggy and not good or anything like that, which means you're on the wrong medication and it needs to change. However, there's a phenomenon, if you want to call it, that I've seen with multiple people. Again, we were talking about earlier how he's all driven and positive, and then he swings to angry the other way, and he's now angry obsessing, and he's happy obsessing and angry obsessing. I've seen for several people, they get the feeling that up here, it's euphoric, you feel awesome, you feel driven, you have a goal, things are going to be good, things are going to be great, I'm going to do awesome, and it feels great and everything, and you think that that's who you're supposed to be without realizing that that feeling is as unnatural as when it goes down, when the pendulum swings the other way. And when you take your medication, if you take the right medication, instead of going like this, you know, you go like this. No medication, by the way, cures any of this, right? It just brings it within manageable. However, when they're going like this, they feel like this is unnatural because I'm supposed to be feeling like I was when I was up here. That's the feeling I want. And if you put me on meds, it takes that away and I'm down here. And okay, maybe I'm not going real low, but I'm not going real high. And this was good for me. That was good. That felt good. That's how I should be. And the meds take that away. So that is another reason why people can fight the medication. Again, this stuff is endlessly complicated. So, and it's tough because you're talking to someone and they say it makes me foggy, it doesn't make me feel good. You don't know what that means exactly, because from their perspective, foggy and makes me feel down would be what you and I would call feeling normal.
Let's go back to the incident.
So yeah, I snapped. I almost beat him to death. Yeah, about a week before the incident, I called the cops, and I told them that my wife and the history guy were plotting against me by embezzling money from the local high school, which wasn't true. It was a delusion. And we later found out from the hospital that's because I'm,
Undiagnosed bipolar.
yeah, with mood swings and weird thinking brought on by severe stress, which rarely happens, thank God. And then the shower incident happened, and that's when everything stopped. So I then realized that, oh wow, you know, I've been dealing with this my whole life. And without any supervision, I've been doing it all on my own, with no help. And, you know, I've been like white knuckling it this whole time. It's a lot to deal with, especially when you don't know what the hell is happening, which I do now, sort of.
There's a lot in that whole thing there. One is, yeah, very often a mental illness flies under the radar for years and years, maybe even a whole lifetime. Because again, the person experiencing it doesn't have the context to know what it is. He's having delusions, but I'm sure at the time the delusion seemed completely real. He was completely convinced of them. So he's not thinking there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with the world. Like he says, he's been white-knuckling it for years, trying to deal with it on his own, and sooner or later there's a snap, and unfortunately people don't get the help until something terrible happens. It's not just that they don't realize it. Because most people don't realize what the signs of a mental illness are until it hits a certain point. We don't realize, if you're standing outside with that person, you don't realize that there's a mental illness going on. So nothing happens until you hit the breaking point, and that by that point, things are so bad that sometimes there's no coming back from it. People get killed, people get hurt, their lives end, or they do something that gets them thrown into prison. And I mean, good luck getting better from that point forward. I have been in the emergency room with somebody who was clearly spinning out of control. And I was told that person was not going to be accepted for hospitalization. Really what it came down to is we can't hospitalize them to prevent something bad from happening. We can only hospitalize them after the bad thing has occurred.
Oh God, oh God.
Dad! Hey!
What are you doing here?
I just came by to say hi, let you know I'm ready to come back to work.
You shouldn't be here.
Thank you.
Ah, get away from me. Get away, get away.
All right, I'm better. I just want to let you know I'm better now.
Right.
Okay, I'm better.
Yeah,
I feel good. I feel so good. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Look how clear they are.
Don't hug me.
I'm not a complainer anymore. I'm a positive guy, okay?
You just have to give it some time.
Yes.
You know, a lot went down. People will get over it. It'll be all good. It'll work out.
Yes, it will be. I'm going to take that as a silver development, Nancy. It's silver development. That's a silver lining.
Once again, from how he's perceiving reality, he's thinking this is a great interaction. This is a silver lining. This is a positive thing I've done. Well, what he's done is scare the crap out of someone and violate a court order. But that stuff just doesn't even enter his thinking because, again, he's still in mania. He's still obsessed. He's already grabbed a steering wheel of a moving car, thrown a book through a window. He's just violated, I think it's like a restraining order, not allowed to go near the school. He scared the crap out of this person who didn't, clearly, any of us saw someone going like, ah! When we go to touch them, we would say, oh, this person doesn't want me interacting with them. Maybe I should take a step back. Doesn't even register for him because it doesn't line up with the reality that his brain is like working under. You're seeing the pattern here. It's getting worse and worse. In almost all cases in the real world, this would lead to probably another incident where he's in the back of a police car and back in the hospital or worse because it's snowballing. He's not in a good place. He shouldn't be at home with his family just out, jogging through the streets because he's not capable of making good decisions.
Oh, no way.
No way,
Dad,
She
no
might
way.
be with him. She's afraid of you. She doesn't want to talk
You
to
talking
you.
about Doug Culpepper?
Phone.
Dad.
Give me
This-
the phone. You gotta understand me. You're gonna go
talk about
back.
me
Well, then stop this. Then don't fucking do this.
me like that.
Then don't behave this way.
That part where his dad's trying to get the phone out of his hand, here you have parents who are trying to keep their adult son from going to disaster yet again because they can see it clearly. He can't. They can see it and they're trying to stop him. So you're fighting this huge uphill battle to try to keep them at least above water enough to where they can start getting better.
Would you like to be a guy who goes back to jail or to the hospital? So take your medication. And if you do fine, we'll reduce them.
Nikki's waiting for me to get in shape and get my life in order, and then she's gonna be with me.
And that's better than any medication.
There is a possibility, and I want you to be prepared for it, that she may not return.
He's saying that Nikki's waiting for him. He completely believes that, even though he's had no interaction for Nikki. No one has told him that Nikki feels this way, yet he is 100% convinced that is what the reality is. And that, again, is why when someone's manic and in a good state, reasoning with them is, you know, is almost impossible.
Are you okay? Ronnie called. Hey, is that makeup on your shirt?
I don't know, Mom.
This is a really hard scene for me to watch, I'm going to be honest with you.
Get a phone in due time. What happened?
Really difficult for me to watch this scene. He's gotten agitated, something's happened that threw him for a loop, and it's like his mind's telling him that the way out of it is to this one thing, and that one thing may not make any sense, but he's obsessed with getting it.
Mom, I can't find my wedding video. Mom, wake up. I looked in here, but this is all your shit up here for your sewing and everything. Did you put it up here?
What about in your father's study?
Don't go in my study.
Dad, not now. Would you put it in here? Makes no sense for you to put it in here.
Patty, what are you doing?
He's got all his Eagles videos. We're in a one.
He's frustrated because I should have my fucking wedding videos.
Dad, you gotta wake up.
I already looked all over there. I'm not calming down. I don't give a fuck who here. I'm not calming down. Anybody can wake up. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. Let the whole neighborhood wake up. I don't care.
Stop it! Stop it!
Mom, what the fuck are you doing? You fucking no. Get off me, girl. I'm not doing anything. I'm not hitting it. He's hitting it on me.
This is an example of the dangers of sending someone home or having someone just, you know, out in the world with these issues, is because there's a certain ceiling most of us have in terms of reasonable behavior, and I don't want to hurt people or anything. And if you snowball to a certain point, if the mania gets to a certain point, you lose your capability to make those decisions, and the emotions just snowball and snowball and snowball. And then you're doing something that in a right state of mind you'd never do, that go against your values. I mean, he hit his mom, and instead of just being in shock and everything, it just leads to this physical altercation, especially given the reasons he was sent to the hospital in the first place as part of a plea bargain and a criminal thing. I have a really hard time believing that he wouldn't be taken right back to the hospital. If people called the police and they knew what was happening and it had gotten to this point, that definitely crosses the threshold for hospitalization. And if he was under a court order or some sort of plea bargain or something like that, I have, again, situations vary and everything like that, but as far as I know, that in almost all circumstances that I've seen, that person would be heading out that night in an ambulance or the back of a police car. They would not stay home. So now he's finally taking his meds. But I want to really hammer this home right now, is that medication for mood disorders, mental illnesses, etc., do not cure those things. There is no medication you can give to someone with bipolar disorder, and then once they're on the medication, it's like they don't have bipolar disorder. No, they still have bipolar disorder. It just brings it to a manageable level, which is why you can't just do psychiatric treatment. You can't just do meds. You have to do meds and therapy. One of the critiques I might have of this movie is they kind of make it look like you take a med and then, okay, now, whew, I'm more with it now. Okay, great. Not really how it works. For one thing, these meds very often have to build up in your system. And another thing, the level of mania he's in right now, you have to get that person out of mania before you can even give them their regular meds. Just taking their regular meds that they'd be taking day to day, if they're that far into mania, don't do the job. You have to get them into a hospital. There are specific medications and a specific treatment that the good hospitals know how to do that bring them out of mania. And once he's out of mania, figure out what his long-term medication needs are going to be, and you take it from there. Again, they're presenting this as much simpler as it is. You know, just start taking your meds and then things are instantaneously better.
You need to recognize these feelings coming to you. Otherwise, you will be sent back to Baltimore. So when you get these feelings, you need to get to a quieter place with peace with yourself, however you can.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done.
You have to do it. You have no choice.
It is easier said than done. We expect mentally ill people to still do everything correctly. Get a full-time job, pay your own bills, take care of yourself, etc., etc. Or else you just wind up in prison, you wind up in the hospital, you wind up homeless in a ditch somewhere. I'm telling you right now, firsthand, the help isn't there like it should be. We're asking them to climb Mount Everest with the expectation of you should just be able to do it. But they need very specific help with that. It's like telling someone with cancer, you're just going to have to figure out how to drive the cancer out yourself. What we offer people is beyond negligible, and it's hard to talk about it without getting really, really angry.
Shut up, please. Stop it. Shut up.
Is this guy the only police officer in town?
Come on, what are you doing? What are you doing to these kids? You're gonna be a punk on Halloween with these kids?
Okay.
You wanna go back to Baltimore? You're just sick.
It's the kids. It's the kids. Honestly, he didn't do anything. It was all the kids.
Is he messing with you?
No. This was just a joke.
Don't
This is a
defend the
joke I
abuser.
started.
No.
I'm not.
There's a
I'm not. It was
restraining
a
order on
joke.
this
I
guy.
know. I have a stupid sense of humor.
That's not a good thing to do.
I'm not interested in going the whole tangential thing about the role of police in this whole process, because that can be a tricky thing. I've had good and bad experiences with that. But the overall thing I want to say is that one of the things that makes it particularly tough is if someone gets a reputation within a community of being this way, that's always working against you.
I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna fight.
Just calm down.
We're the real evil fans.
Hey, not my brother. Hey.
This is a dilemma.
I thought you said you had it together. You were solid.
I am solid. I was solid at the game, Dad. I'm solid. I'm solid now.
See,
You fell apart. What are you fucking talking about?
Come on,
You loser! You loser!
I'm not a
You
loser.
fucking loser! And ruined the fight. The 1 yard line.
He was defending his brother and us.
Like the fucking ball, the 1 yard line.
No,
you
Dad.
fucking idiot.
this is one of those things where not only is it hard to get back to normal life, you have this extra layer of responsibility put on yourself, which is to say, you know, he was supposed to stand aside and not do anything while his brother's getting the snot kicked out of him. Your brother, who was also defending people, where you getting in there and trying to help them would, in a lot of cases, be looked at as the right thing to do, because what happens, no matter what the reasons he was doing or whether he was doing it's the wrong thing to do, no matter what.
Let's see the scores for Solitano and Maxwell. We have a 4.9, a 4.8, a 4.9.
That's really too bad, guys. That's
And
a lot of fours.
for an average score of 5.0.
I don't know if it's an intentional metaphor, but I love the fact that it doesn't matter that everyone else thinks, oh, okay, that's not really good. I'm really sorry about that. And he's like, this is great. I triumphed and everything. His goals, what he has to do, they're not going to line up with everybody else's. And his triumph is not in getting a perfect 10, but having everything against you and you get a 5. A 5 for them is a 10 for everybody else.
To beat the Vikings by 3. I'm giving you a 6, which is very cheap.
So you put the breadcrumbs, the garlic, and the steak, and you roll it up with the toothpicks?
We're all...
So that was Silver Linings Playbook. Pound for pound, I think one of the best depictions in film of mental illness. Again, I had my quibbles with it, but, you know, compared to everything else out there, I just think it gives someone who may not have familiarity with this a much better idea of what you're dealing with when it comes to mental illness. The only thing that I have to say negative about the ending of the film is that it gives a sense that, you know, everything's fine now. Which, when you're dealing with bipolar disorder, he's going to be struggling with that his whole life. And I don't necessarily think that the movie says that, you know, that that's not the case, but it, you know, a lot of people could walk away with, oh, you know, he turned a corner, he found love, you know, his family's all together, everything's good now. Everything's much better now, and he has a much better shot of a more fulfilling life, but he's still going to have his struggles. He's not past them. There's still things he's going to get hung up on. It's going to be work for the rest of his life. At least now, though, he has someone who actually understands and loves him for who he is. The thing is, love by itself doesn't fix everything. I've often said that love doesn't fix everything, but you can't fix anything without it. A lot of people never turn the corner. It's just hard to express everything you're up against when you have like his level of bipolar disorder. Sooner or later, he's going to have to support himself again, and it's a question of, can he make the transition to a career again? And if so, what options does he even have? Those are all big questions for the future. But like I said, at least he's got a foundation to build on now. A lot of people never get that through no fault of their own. It is so important for us as a society to do more, to have more support, to have more programs. What you're up against is hard enough, even with those things in place. It's not like those things would guarantee success. However, we are guaranteeing a whole lot of failure with the way things are set up right now. It's a great thing to argue about. It's a great thing to pontificate about. But rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, and not only that, rolling up your sleeves and paying for it. A solution is going to be expensive. It's going to involve changing the way we think about things and people, and unfortunately, there are just not enough people in our society right now who are ready to do that. I do hope things get better. I do think there's a better understanding now than there was before, and hopefully it keeps going in that direction. If you're watching this, I hope it's given you a little bit of perspective, or maybe, again, backed up some things you've been on. You're not alone. Like I said, there's not enough help out there, but there is help out there. Please reach out. Help someone reach out. Just know it's going to be a very, very difficult journey, but people are worth it. So anyways, I'll be back soon with back to more fun videos again. I'll get my cousin Milton in here talking about what's been going on with him. In the meantime, please like, share, subscribe. I hope you found this worth your time to spend. Again, if you need the help, or if you know someone who needs the help, do whatever you can. They are worth it. You are worth it. Have a great one.